you remember maybe from earlier this year. So if you take a look at number 1, there's some different types of angles in that picture, and there's some different things that you know for sure just by looking at those angles. What's one of the angle measures that you know for sure, based on that picture there? What do you know that angle Y has to be? How did you get 16? Beautiful. This right here, this is a straight line, and a straight line makes 180 degrees, so it's a linear pair. So these 3 angles have to add up to be 180 degrees. So Lexi's saying she just added these 2 numbers together and then subtracted them from 180. So she did 180 minus 81 plus 83. All right, so hopefully that kind of brings back some memories there. So she got angle Y is 16 degrees. Now that doing any math, you should be able to figure out what angle X is. What is angle X? It's also 16 degrees. Why? It's also, there's another straight line right over here. So again, 83 plus 81, and then subtract from 180. You should get this one. But what are these 2 types of angles right here? Oh, not adjacent. Oh, no, not quite. Start to the V. Vertical. Vertical. There you go. X and Y are vertical angles. And maybe we write that down. Are vertical. So vertical means they're directly across from each other, and then they're automatically congruent. They're exactly the same. Okay, the only other one that I have to figure out is angle Z. What is angle Z? How'd you get 164? Yeah. Exactly. There's a couple different ways you can go about it. This is a straight line again, so you can do 180 minus 16, or you will also notice that angle Z right here is vertical to these 2 angles right here, right? So they're the same, they're across from each other. So if you just add 81 and 83, you'll get what angle Z is. So you'll get 164. Beautiful. Okay, so if you can do that, you're going to be successful at what we do today, because we're going to do the exact same thing today, except it's going to be inside of a circle instead of just straight angles. All right, number 2. You have to figure out angle A and angle B. What are you thinking? Who knows one of them? Which one? Angle A is what? 85. How'd you get 85? Yep, 95 over here makes a straight line. So you did 180 minus 95, you got 85. Great. Only other one there is angle B. 83 degrees. How'd you get 83? Exactly. So again, you should be noticing here that a lot of times it's just finding the ones that make a straight line and then subtracting from 180. That gives you what's left over. That's all that it is. All right. Number 3. 163. Now this one's a little different. How'd you get 163? And then what?
And then subtract by 360.
Why would you subtract from 360? A full circle is 360. So if we were to add angle M, 54, 88, and 55, we should get 360. So to get this angle M right here, we took 360 and we subtracted the 54, the 88, and the 55. So a full circle in total is 360 degrees. Beautiful. Okay. Last one, number 4. Now, before you even do anything, you should see some angles that are vertical. Which angles are vertical?
R and Q.
R and Q. So you already know R and Q are the same. So I'm going to put one arc mark to show that they're the same. What other vertical angles do you see? Yeah, and then these 2 that are across from each other here, 130 should be the same as both P and 72 if I put them together, right? They're across from each other. They're also vertical angles. That should help you out significantly. So which one can you figure out from that? Say it again. Yeah, either one of them. I think probably an easy one to start with is angle P, because you know if you do 130 minus 72, you should get what this angle P is. So you get 58. Good. That's that angle. So we did 130 minus 72 for that one. And then what about R and Q? 50 and 50, because again, if we add all of them together, we should get 360. This is 50 and 50. Oh my gosh, fantastic. So that is literally what we're doing today, except instead of, like I said, just doing straight up angles, we're going to do angles that are in a circle, but it's the exact same thing. Like nothing is going to change with what we're going to do today. So we're going to talk today about something called central angles and arc measures that are inside of a circle. All right, so here's our main idea for today. Central angles and arc measure. A central angle is an angle with its vertex at the center, crazy because it's called central, at the center of the circle, and its two sides are radii, or in other words, they are radiuses. The plural of it is radii. R-A-D, I think it's I-on. Radii. Radii. That's what it looks like. Strange word, right? Radii. The sum of all central angles in a circle. So if we add all the circles together, or excuse me, all the angles in a circle together, we get how many degrees? 360. Perfect. So an example of a central angle, if we look at this picture right here, in total, this angle here and this angle here, this really big one, should add up to be 360. An example of an angle in this picture is angle ABC. So the vertex is right at the center. So this is the center of the circle. And this right here, this is a radius. And this one over here is also a radius. Right, those two lengths. So as long as you're in the center of the circle, it's called a central angle. Crazy. The degree of the arc formed by the endpoints of the central angle is equal to the degree of the central angle. So here's what that means. If you go to the center of this circle here, this angle right here is 84 degrees. That's the central angle. The arc measure goes from this point A to this point C, right here. This arc measure is exactly the same as the central angle. So since this angle is 84, guess what this one is right here? It's also 84. Now, when we write that and we're trying to say it's on the outside of the circle, it's like part of the circumference, we write it like this: measure of arc AC. So that means start at A, end at C, and if it's got this little arc above it, that means it's on the outside of the circle. So this arc measure of angle AC is 84 degrees. Now, the other arc in the picture is arc ADC. So that means you start at A, you go towards D, and you end at C. So essentially, it's everything else that's left over. Now, how would I figure out what's left over in that circle? What would I have to do? Yeah, 360 minus 84. That's going to give me this larger angle right here. 360 minus 84. I get 276. Good. So that larger arc on the outside, this purple one, is 276 degrees, right? Because it's an arc measure, which means this angle on the inside here is also 276 degrees. Now, There are two different types of arcs. If it's got two letters, this one over here, this blue one, AC, if it has two letters, that means it's called a minor arc. That means it's less than 180 degrees. So it's some number smaller than 180. This is called a minor arc. A minor arc. The other one's called a major arc. It's close though. So a minor arc is less than 180 degrees. Less than 180. And a major arc is greater than 180 degrees. Bigger than 180. And so if it's a minor arc, we use two letters to show that it's smaller. If it's a major arc, we use three letters to show that it's bigger. So it's an easy way to see which one is the smaller one, which one's the bigger one. What do we call something that is exactly 180 degrees? It's not an exact arc, so think about it. 180 degrees makes what? What kind of shape? 180. A line. What do you call something that goes from one end of the circle through the center to the other end? Not a segment. A diameter. Yes, diameter. So if you see something that goes straight through the center, a straight line, that's a diameter. So a major arc is less than a diameter, and a minor arc is less than a diameter, and a major arc is bigger than a diameter. Okay, that is literally it for what we're doing today. Now we're just going to solve for some unknown angle measures. So it's just like this up here, except instead now it's in a circle. Okay, so let's take a look at number one. Okay, before we even look over here, let's just plug in the numbers that we know really quickly. What's one of the angles that you know for sure? 21 is right over here. What's another angle that you know? Yeah, the one right underneath it. Hi, that one's also 21. Easy, right? Okay, how do I figure out what the other two are? Beautiful. Oh my gosh, look at you. Take 360 and subtract 21 and 21. And that'll give you what these two are worth. Then I have to divide that by 2 because there's 2 of them and they're equal, right? So 360 minus 21 plus 21 is what? I don't know. 318. Is that right? 42? Okay. And then I take that number and I divide it by 2, and that's going to give me what each one equals. 159. So this one over here is 159. And this one over here is also 159. Okay, so now we look at the sides over here, and we're going to fill in what we know. Some of them are arc lengths, arc measures. Some of them are angles. We just have to be careful that we look at the right one. So the first one is arc JK. JK. Here's JK. What's the measure of JK? 21 degrees. Perfect. It's exactly the same as its central angle. All right. What's the measure of angle JNM? JNM. You did it already. What is it? 159 degrees. Good. Okay. What's the measure of arc? So if it's got this line above it, that means it's an arc. Of arc KL. 159. Are you noticing some patterns here? You're noticing it's the same thing over and over again? Okay. The measure of arc JKM. Before you even look, what do you know about that arc? No. You're going to be adding them, but if it's 3 letters, that means what? It's a major arc, so it has to be a number bigger than 180, right? It's got to be a big number. So JKM means you start at J, you go through K, and you end at M. So look, you have to go here all the way around to here. How do I figure that out? Plus the last one. Yeah. There's another 21. So you got to add 21 plus 159 plus 21. And what number do you get? 201. Beautiful. So we added 159 plus 21 plus 21. I'm only really trying to show you the work for the first one, but once you kind of see it now, it's like, it's not that hard, right? Okay, last one, MKL. Again, we know it's 3 letters, so it's going to be a major arc. MKL means you start at M, you go through K, and you end all the way at L. Start at M, go through K, end at L. So it's this whole length. It's the whole thing. How do I figure that out? Add what? Plus? Okay, that's one way to do it. What's another way I could do it? It's what? Right, so you've got a line, which is 180, and then you could add the 159 to it. That's another choice. There's one more choice. Yeah, you can also do it that way. I know the whole thing's 360, and I'm saying do everything except for this little 21 piece. So you can also do 360 minus 21. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. You do whatever way makes you happy. What do you got? 339. Okay, so look, not hard, right? It's just all figuring out what the unknown angles are, and then you're just adding them or subtracting them depending on which angle it's asking you for, or which arc it's asking you for. That's all it is. It's just some addition today. So I have faith in you. Not hard, right? I have faith. Okay, so I'm going to skip the ones on the front because the front ones are more of the same thing. I'm going to show you an equation one on the back, and then, well, we'll see how far we get. So flip it to the back. Flip it to the back. Jump to number 7. Jump to number 7. So we're going to do the 2 harder ones, and then I'm going to stop talking. All right, number 7. Now, this one's a little bit different because you've got equations, but don't let that freak you out. You've got equations, so you're going to have to solve for x first. Okay, what do you notice about the 2 arcs that are given to you? They are they major? They look like it, but I gave you from B to C. Is that less than or greater than a straight line? Well, here's a straight line. Oh, it's less, so it's a minor arc. Oh, okay. 2 minor arcs. What do you notice about their location? They're equal to each other. Why? They're vertical angles. Beautiful. This one right here is the same as this one right here. And look, I gave you the equations. So if they're vertical angles, vertical, that means they are what? Congruent. And if 2 things are congruent, what should you do with the equations? You should set them equal because they're exactly the same. So we're going to take this equation and set it equal to this equation, and then we're going to do some algebra. That's all we're going to do. So we're going to take 8x plus 12, set it equal to 10x minus 22. We're going to do some algebra. Your fave. What should I do first? Move the x's. I'm going to move the smaller one. So I'm going to move the 8x. And because it's positive, I'm going to subtract it. Because this one has equations only, and I didn't give you any of the angle measures. So you're going to have to solve for x first before we can figure out what the angles are. All right. I got 2x minus 22. Now what? Add 22. I get 34 equals 2x. And then my last step, divide by 2. I get x equals 17. Beautiful. Great, you answered the first part of the question, because if you look at the right, it says x equals, and you're going to put 17 there. Okay, now it asks me for some arc lengths here, my arc measures, but can I answer that yet? Or what do I have to do first before I can do that? What do I have to do now that I figured out what x is? I gotta plug it in. I have to substitute it now. Plug in. Now, does it matter which equation I plug it into? No, so plug it into one of them. I don't care which one. So this is 8 times 17 plus 12. All right, I'm going to do that one. You can do the right one if you want. Does not matter. Oops. What did you get when you plugged it in? 148 degrees. So that means this angle here is 148 degrees. What does that mean this angle over here is? 148 degrees. And I bet you can figure out the other two angles that are left over, which are also vertical angles. What should I do there? Subtract what? Subtract both of them from 360 and then divide by 2, because there's 2 of them. Exactly. So I'm going to take 360 minus 148 plus 148. 296. Hold on. Okay, so I get 64. Is that what you got? Did I mess that up? Times 296. 64. And then I have to take that number and divide by 2 because there's 2 angles that are left. So for each angle that's left over, it's 32 degrees. So now you've got all of your angles, and a good way to check, personally, what I would do is I would always add them up one more time just to make sure, hey, if you add all those numbers up, you should get 360. If you don't, you did something wrong. Just as a good check. And then now my last step is to just answer those questions that are left over here on the right. So the first one is the measure of arc AD. Come back to your picture. AD, what's the measure? 148 degrees. Good. The measure of arc CD is 32. Again, those are both minor arcs. They should be less than 180. And our last one's the measure of arc BDC. It's 3 letters, which means it's a major arc. So BDC means start at B. Of course, that died on me. Start at B, go through D. No, you always go based on the lettering that they give you. So the lettering that they give you says start at the first letter, go through the second letter, and end at the third letter. And you have to go whichever way gives you the bigger arc. Because if I try to go to the right, if I go B, I'd have to go through C first to get over here, which means that's the wrong way. I have to go the other way. So BDC is this green piece over here. How do I solve for that green piece? You can do 360 minus 148, or what else? Add them. Yeah, add the numbers together that are left over. 32, 148, and 32. Both are going to give you the same answer. You're going to get 212. So I did 360 minus 148 for that one. Okay. So it's just like a whole bunch of addition, really, I guess. But here's the one thing to notice. Notice that before I answered these questions over here, I solved for x, and then notice that I wrote down all of the angles first before I tried to answer the questions. If you try to answer the questions first, it's going to be harder for you, okay? So if you're going to do these types of problems, make sure you're putting in the angle measures first and then answer the questions. Okay, the only other one I want to set up with you is number 8, and then I'm going to leave you to do the rest of the problems. You know, I know we don't have a lot of time. But if you take a look at number 8, what do you notice this time about these two angles? Here and here. Are those vertical?
No.
Ooh, what are they? Are they across from each other or are they next to each other? They're next to each other. So if I put this angle over here, I can see is vertical to this one. These two are the same. I also can see that this one and this one are the same, right? They're vertical. But these two right here that are next to each other are definitely different. One's small, one's big. However, what do you notice about these two angles if I put them together? It equals 180 because this right here is the diameter. So I want to set up an equation that says if I combine these two, I should get 180 degrees. So that's going to be my equation. 5x plus 23 plus 17x minus 41 gives me 360 degrees. And then it just becomes, again, an algebra problem, and you're going to do it the same way you did the last one. You're going to solve for x, you're going to plug it in, you're going to solve your unknown angle measures. Ooh, all right, so we only have about 8 minutes left. I want you to try to complete as many problems as you can, and then we're going to check them on Monday. So you can start with the equation problems on the back, or you can start with the easy ones on the front. Up to you. But it should be a very easy kind of moment here for you, because all you're really doing is figuring out which angles add up to 360. That's all you really have to do. All right, so we give you a little bit of time right now.
Number 1, why would you do 360 minus 21?
Because that last one, M, K through L, you can do it 2 ways. You can either add up all the angles together. So you could add up 159 plus 21 plus 159. That's one way to do it. Or you can take the whole circle, which is 360, and subtract the piece that you're not using. So we weren't using that bottom piece, the 21 piece. So we just subtracted. So you can add up all the pieces together, or you can subtract the piece that you're not using from 360 to find the major arcs. Number, I did not get a decimal. For your x value, I got 9. If you got a decimal, make sure you see it's negative 41 and a positive 23 on the left. Did I write something wrong?
No, I got it right.
Okay. Yeah, if you combine negative 41 and positive 23, you should get negative 18 on the left. Okay, and then you added it to the right. And you got what? Because you added it up to 360, not to 180. It's a straight line. That's why. If you're going to add it up to 360, you have to add all 4 of those angles together. Mm-hmm. Look at you. You're like quiz ready for this, man. Mm-hmm.
For number 9, angle WX, and then
I'm sorry, say the question number again.
for number 9.
For number 9. Can you set what?
Am I supposed to equal 90 degrees to 1?
No, because the 90 degrees is what's left. That's like that chunk on the left there. So here's a way you could do number 9. Because that, if you look at it, like this angle right here is definitely way bigger than the 90, right? So I can't set it equal to 90. It's definitely bigger. Here's what you can do though. You know the whole thing's 360, right? Let's take away 90 from 360. What do you got? 270. So I know if I put together arc VW, arc WX, and arc YZ, I should get 270 because I'm taking this chunk out of it. So I'm going to set up my equation to say this plus this plus this is equal to 270. Right, that one was kind of a trick one. So, because the rest of them, you should either be able to set them equal to each other because they're vertical or set them equal to 180. But this particular one was kind of a trick because, like, there are no vertical angles in this one. There's nothing that's directly across from each other that looks like they're the exact same size. So because of that, I had to take this chunk out and write it in as an equation to 270. That was by far the hardest one. All right, so we're down to about 2 more minutes. So find yourself a nice stopping place. You guys did fantastic today. I do want you to try to finish those 9 questions, and then I'm going to grade them on Monday in class with you. All right? So take the time today, and I would just do it today. You can probably bust it out in one of your other classes today, get it done and finished with, and then we'll check it on Monday. You have just finished the first of like 4 sections of this chapter. And I'm hoping that it feels like not bad, right? It's just a lot of addition is all it really is. All right, you guys did a wonderful job today. Please put your calculators back into their correct spot. And then, like I said, I'm going to check them on Monday in class. So do it today because you're going to all forget over the weekend. I know you all. Do it today.